Jennifer Caldwell, a 34-year-old high school English teacher at Westfield High School in Brookhaven, Connecticut, had built what appeared to be an exemplary life in the affluent suburban community. She lived in a colonial-style house on Maple Ridge Drive with her husband of 11 years, Dr. Richard Caldwell, a successful orthopedic surgeon at Hartford Medical Center. Their neighborhood was the kind of place where property values exceeded $600,000, and residents took pride in maintaining pristine lawns and hosting elaborate holiday decorations. The Caldwells had two children, 9-year-old Emma and 6-year-old Tyler. Both children attended Brookhaven Elementary, where Jennifer was active in the parent-teacher organization and regularly volunteered for school fundraising events. To their neighbors and colleagues, the family represented the pinnacle of suburban achievement. The dedicated educator, married to the respected physician, raising well-adjusted children in a community known for its excellent schools and low crime rates. Jennifer's professional reputation at Westfield High School was equally stellar. In her 8 years at the school, she had been recognized twice as Teacher of the Year and had developed an innovative creative writing program that attracted students from across the district. Her AP English literature classes consistently achieved high test scores, and she mentored younger teachers through the district's professional development program. Dr. Richard Caldwell's medical practice generated substantial income, with annual earnings exceeding $450,000 from his surgical procedures and consulting work. His financial success allowed Jennifer to focus on her teaching career without the pressure of supplementing their household income, giving her the freedom to pursue professional satisfaction rather than maximum compensation. However, beneath the surface of this apparently perfect suburban life, Jennifer had become increasingly dissatisfied with her marriage and personal circumstances. According to statements later provided to investigators by her closest friends, Jennifer felt emotionally neglected by Richard, who worked long hours at the hospital and often seemed more interested in his golf games and medical conferences than in their relationship. Jennifer's dissatisfaction intensified following Richard's decision in early 2023 to undergo a vasectomy without consulting her about the procedure. She had expressed interest in having a third child, but Richard dismissed the idea, citing financial concerns and his desire to focus on advancing his medical career. The unilateral decision created significant tension in their marriage and left Jennifer feeling that her opinions were not valued in major family decisions. Additionally, Jennifer had begun to question whether she had settled for a stable but passionless marriage rather than pursuing a relationship that provided emotional fulfillment. Her friends later reported that Jennifer increasingly complained about feeling like a trophy wife, whose primary function was to maintain their social image while Richard pursued his professional ambitions. The catalyst for the events that followed came in September 2023 when Westfield High School hired David Martinez as the new physical education teacher and assistant football coach. Martinez, 29 years old and recently divorced, had moved to Connecticut from Arizona to start fresh after his marriage ended due to infidelity issues. He was attractive, charismatic, and represented a stark contrast to the conservative, career-focused men who dominated Jennifer's social circle. Martinez's background included 4 years of college football at Arizona State University, followed by brief attempts at professional sports before transitioning into education. His coaching experience and enthusiasm for working with students made him popular among both faculty and students at Westfield High School. However, his personal history included a pattern of problematic relationships and poor financial management that would later become relevant to the investigation. The initial interaction between Jennifer and David occurred during faculty meetings and shared lunch periods in the teacher's lounge. Colleagues later described their conversations as friendly but professional, with no obvious signs of romantic interest during the early weeks of the school year. However, the relationship evolved rapidly during October 2023, when Jennifer volunteered to help David organize the annual homecoming dance, an assignment that required them to spend several evenings working together after school hours. The extended time alone provided opportunities for personal conversations that revealed their mutual attraction and shared feelings of dissatisfaction with their current circumstances. By November 2023, Jennifer and David had begun an extramarital affair that initially consisted of romantic text messages, secret meetings during lunch breaks, and emotional conversations about their desire for more fulfilling relationships. The affair escalated to physical intimacy in early December, when they began meeting at a motel in nearby Waterbury during Jennifer's claimed after-school tutoring sessions. Digital evidence later recovered by investigators showed that Jennifer and David exchanged over 2,300 text messages between November 2023 and March 2024. These communications revealed the intensity of their emotional connection and Jennifer's growing belief that David represented her chance for true happiness and escape from her unfulfilling marriage. However, the relationship also created significant practical problems for Jennifer. The secrecy required to maintain the affair was emotionally exhausting, and she struggled with guilt about deceiving Richard and potentially damaging her children's stable family environment. Additionally, she became increasingly concerned that their relationship might be discovered by colleagues or parents, which would destroy her professional reputation and potentially result in the loss of her teaching position. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Jennifer's internal conflict intensified when David began pressuring her to leave Richard and start a new life with him. David's financial situation was precarious, with significant debt from his divorce and minimal savings to support an independent lifestyle. He viewed Jennifer's marriage to a wealthy surgeon as an opportunity for both romantic fulfillment and financial security, though he was careful not to express the latter motivation too explicitly. The pressure to choose between her stable family life and her passionate affair led Jennifer to consider increasingly desperate solutions to her dilemma. She researched Connecticut divorce laws and discovered that her lack of individual assets and earning potential compared to Richard's substantial income would likely result in a divorce settlement that provided minimal financial independence. Jennifer's research revealed that Richard's medical practice, their home, and most of their investments were structured in ways that would favor him in divorce proceedings. As a teacher married to a high-earning spouse, Jennifer had not accumulated significant individual retirement savings or property ownership that would provide long-term financial security after divorce. The financial realities of divorce, combined with the social stigma of breaking up a seemingly perfect family, led Jennifer to contemplate alternative solutions that would allow her to maintain her lifestyle while pursuing her relationship with David. Her considerations gradually evolved from seeking emotional fulfillment to planning methods of eliminating the obstacles to her desired future. By February 2024, Jennifer had begun researching information about life insurance policies, accidental death benefits, and the legal procedures surrounding unexpected spousal death. Her internet search history, later recovered by digital forensic specialists, showed queries about sudden death heart attacks, widow inheritance rights Connecticut, and life insurance suspicious death investigations. Richard carried substantial life insurance through his medical practice, totaling $2.3 million in coverage that would provide Jennifer with immediate financial security and ongoing income sufficient to maintain their current lifestyle. The insurance payout would also allow her to support David while he transitioned to a more stable career or pursued coaching opportunities that interested him more than teaching. Jennifer's planning became more systematic in early March 2024 when she began researching methods of causing Richard's death that would appear accidental or natural. Her searches focused on substances that could trigger heart attacks in healthy individuals, ways to sabotage vehicle safety systems, and techniques for staging accidents that would avoid criminal investigation. However, Jennifer's lack of technical knowledge and concern about her ability to successfully execute such plans led her to consider hiring someone else to kill Richard. Her research into contract killing revealed the complexity and risks involved in finding reliable criminal services, particularly for someone with no connections to illegal activities. The solution to Jennifer's problem emerged through an unexpected source when David mentioned that his younger brother, Carlos Martinez, had recently been released from prison after serving 3 years for armed robbery and drug-related offenses. Carlos, 26 years old, was struggling to find legitimate employment due to his criminal record and was reportedly willing to engage in illegal activities to support himself. David initially resisted Jennifer's suggestion that Carlos might be willing to help with their problem, expressing concern about involving his family in criminal activity. However, Jennifer's persistence and her promise of substantial payment eventually convinced David to approach his brother about the possibility of eliminating Richard. The initial conversation between David and Carlos occurred in mid-March 2024 at Carlos's apartment in Hartford. According to statements Carlos later provided to investigators, David presented the request as a favor for his girlfriend, who was trapped in an abusive marriage and needed help escaping a dangerous situation. Carlos was initially skeptical about the proposal, particularly given the high-profile nature of killing a prominent surgeon in an affluent community. However, Jennifer's offer of $75,000 for Richard's murder, plus an additional $25,000 for making the death appear accidental, provided financial incentive that Carlos found difficult to refuse given his desperate circumstances. The planning phase of the murder plot involved multiple meetings between Jennifer, David, and Carlos throughout late March and early April 2024. Jennifer provided detailed information about Richard's daily routines, his medical practice schedule, and the layout of their home. She also researched Richard's life insurance policies to ensure that the death would trigger maximum payout, regardless of the specific circumstances. Carlos's approach to the murder was methodical, but ultimately flawed due to his lack of experience with such sophisticated crimes. His previous criminal activity had involved straightforward robberies and drug transactions, rather than carefully planned homicides that required avoiding detection by experienced investigators. The plan they developed involved Carlos gaining entry to the Caldwell home during Richard's evening routine, staging a burglary that would provide motive for the killing, and ensuring that Jennifer had a solid alibi for the time of the murder. Jennifer would attend a parent-teacher conference at Emma's school while Carlos completed the killing, providing her with witnesses and documentation of her whereabouts. However, the plan began unraveling due to Carlos's inexperience and the sophisticated investigative capabilities of Connecticut law enforcement agencies. Carlos had underestimated the security measures in the Caldwell's neighborhood, including surveillance cameras and alarm systems that would document his presence and movements. Additionally, Carlos made the crucial mistake of discussing the murder plot with his girlfriend, Maria Santos, who became concerned about the legal risks and potential consequences of participating in a conspiracy to commit murder. Santos initially kept Carlos's confidence, but eventually decided to contact authorities when she realized the seriousness of the planned crime. On April 18, 2024, Santos contacted the Connecticut State Police and reported the murder conspiracy, providing investigators with detailed information about the participants and timeline. Her cooperation with law enforcement led to immediate surveillance of Jennifer, David, and Carlos, while investigators gathered evidence to support criminal charges. The surveillance operation revealed the extent of Jennifer's planning and her active role in coordinating the murder plot. Phone recordings and video surveillance captured conversations between the conspirators about timing, payment methods, and procedures for avoiding detection after Richard's death. Investigators also discovered that Jennifer had recently increased Richard's life insurance coverage and had researched the claims process for accidental death benefits. Her activities demonstrated clear premeditation and financial motive for her husband's murder, contradicting any potential claims that she was merely a victim of manipulation by the Martinez brothers. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more shocking true crime stories. Let us know in the comments what you think was the most damaging piece of evidence against Jennifer in this murder conspiracy. The arrests occurred on April 25, 2024, when Connecticut State Police executed coordinated warrants for Jennifer Caldwell, David Martinez, and Carlos Martinez. All three suspects were taken into custody without incident, though Jennifer's arrest at Westfield High School created significant shock among her colleagues and students who had no knowledge of her personal problems or criminal activities. The charges included conspiracy to commit murder, solicitation of murder, and criminal conspiracy for all three defendants. Jennifer faced additional charges related to insurance fraud and conspiracy to commit fraud based on her research into Richard's life insurance policies and her apparent intent to benefit financially from his death. The evidence against the conspirators was overwhelming due to Santos's cooperation and the extensive digital trail Jennifer had created through her online research and communications with David. Phone records, text messages, and internet search histories provided investigators with comprehensive documentation of the murder plot's development and implementation. Richard Caldwell learned about his wife's plot to have him killed when contacted by investigators following the arrests. His initial reaction was described as shock and disbelief, followed by concern for his children's welfare and the impact the scandal would have on their family's reputation in the community. The case attracted significant media attention in Connecticut due to the involvement of respected professionals and the contrast between the defendants' public personas and their criminal activities. Local news coverage focused on the breakdown of what had appeared to be an ideal suburban family and the dangers of secret relationships and financial desperation. Jennifer's colleagues at Westfield High School expressed amazement that someone they had worked with daily for years had been capable of planning such a serious crime. The school district immediately placed Jennifer on administrative leave and began the process of terminating her employment based on the criminal charges. The legal proceedings moved rapidly due to the strength of the prosecution's evidence and the defendants' varying levels of cooperation. Carlos Martinez, facing the most serious potential sentence as the intended killer, agreed to cooperate with prosecutors in exchange for a reduced sentence. David Martinez initially maintained his innocence, but eventually accepted a plea agreement when presented with evidence of his active participation in recruiting his brother and planning the murder. His plea included testimony against Jennifer regarding her role as the primary architect of the conspiracy. Jennifer's defense strategy focused on portraying her as a victim of emotional manipulation by David Martinez, claiming that she had been coerced into participating in the murder plot against her better judgment. Her attorneys argued that her affair had compromised her mental state and that David had taken advantage of her vulnerability to pursue his own financial interests. However, the prosecution successfully demonstrated that Jennifer had been the driving force behind the murder plot, conducting research, providing financing, and coordinating the activities of her co-conspirators. The evidence showed that far from being a victim, Jennifer had been the mastermind who recruited others to carry out her plan to eliminate her husband. The trial proceedings revealed additional details about Jennifer's motivations, including her desire to maintain her affluent lifestyle while pursuing her relationship with David. Financial analysis showed that divorce would have significantly reduced Jennifer's standard of living, while Richard's death would have provided her with millions of dollars and complete freedom to restructure her life. Victim impact statements provided by Richard Caldwell and the children's advocates emphasized the devastating effect the conspiracy had on the family, particularly Emma and Tyler, who struggled to understand why their mother had planned to have their father killed. The psychological trauma to the children became a significant factor in the court's consideration of appropriate sentences. The jury deliberated for 8 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all charges against Jennifer and David Martinez. Carlos Martinez had already pleaded guilty as part of his cooperation agreement and was sentenced to 12 years in state prison. Jennifer Caldwell was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for conspiracy to commit murder, with additional consecutive sentences for the fraud-related charges. Her earliest possible parole date is in 2049, when she will be 59 years old. David Martinez received a sentence of 18 years in state prison for his role in the conspiracy. His cooperation with prosecutors resulted in a somewhat reduced sentence compared to Jennifer's punishment, but the court emphasized that his recruitment of his brother demonstrated serious moral culpability. The aftermath of the case continued to reverberate through the Brookhaven community and Westfield High School long after the trials concluded. Richard Caldwell relocated with Emma and Tyler to a different state to escape the media attention and provide his children with a fresh start away from the scene of their family's destruction. The house on Maple Ridge Drive was sold at a significant loss due to its association with the murder plot, and Richard used the proceeds to establish trust funds for his children's education and counseling expenses. He also became an advocate for families affected by domestic violence and betrayal, speaking about his experience to help others recognize warning signs of relationship problems. Westfield High School implemented new policies regarding faculty relationships and professional conduct, though administrators acknowledged that preventing such personal crises was extremely difficult when teachers maintained appropriate professional behavior in the workplace. The case prompted discussions about the pressures facing suburban families to maintain perfect appearances while dealing with underlying relationship problems and financial stress. Mental health advocates used Jennifer's case to highlight the importance of seeking professional help for marital problems rather than pursuing destructive solutions. Jennifer Caldwell is currently serving her sentence at York Correctional Institution in Connecticut. She has participated in counseling programs and educational opportunities while maintaining limited contact with her children through supervised visitation, correspondence, and occasional visits. The Martinez brothers' family expressed public apologies for their son's actions and established a fund to support victims of violent crimes in their community. Carlos Martinez is expected to be released in 2036, while David Martinez will be eligible for parole in 2042. The case remains one of Connecticut's most notorious examples of how seemingly successful professionals can become involved in serious criminal conspiracies when personal relationships and financial pressures override moral and legal boundaries. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of secret affairs and the importance of seeking appropriate help for relationship problems before they escalate to criminal activity. Emma and Tyler Caldwell, now teenagers, have reportedly adjusted well to their new life with their father and have received ongoing counseling to help them process the trauma of their mother's actions. Richard has worked to shield them from continued media attention while ensuring they have access to the support services they need for healthy development despite their unusual circumstances.